It's a challenging time to be a teacher. We don't get paid a lot, the days can be long and exhausting, demands from students, parents, admins, and districts can be intense. There's always room for improvement and there is always more to do. There are always new procedures to learn, new programs to run, new strategies to master. But it's when our fire burns the lowest that we remember our purpose. We teach because we're resilient. We teach because we're problem solvers. We teach because investing in kids is one of the highest callings we can imagine. We teach because we know that the classroom can be a place of magic and possibility. We teach because we have an unquenchable fire for learning and a passion to share it. We teach because our colleagues are some of the best human beings we will ever meet. We teach because we have an opportunity to influence the global citizens that will make this world a better place. If you're still on fire for learning and growth, join the Teachers on Fire Roundtable for conversations that will warm your heart, spark your thinking, and ignite your practice. You'll hear from real people and real educators with real solutions, not make-believe perfection, but ideas, inspiration, and a path toward change and transformation in K-12 education today. My name is Tim Cavey. I'm an 8th grade teacher, assistant principal, and the host of the Teachers on Fire podcast. I'm inviting you to join us at the Teachers on Fire Roundtable. Because you matter, your voice is important, and we are all better together. Good morning, Teachers on Fire, and welcome to another conversation that will warm your heart, spark your thinking, and ignite your professional practice. I'm joined this morning by Alice Aspinall and Nick MOSKALUK. We're going to get into a conversation around math mindsets. Let me quickly introduce the two of them to you. We've got Nick, who is an Alberta teacher and the host of the Ready, Set, Growth podcast. I'm so glad, Nick, your podcast crossed into my feed some time ago. And Alice is a secondary math teacher, author of several math books for children, YouTuber, and recipient of, let me get this right, the 2021 Prime Minister's Award for Teaching Excellence in STEM. Congratulations on that, Alice.
Thank you.
So to all of our live viewers, say hello. Let us know where you are coming from this morning. We've got Andrew. Andrew is on fire for learning and growth. That's my brother in Nanaimo. Mel is coming in from Colombia. She says, I didn't know about Nick before. Hopefully we've got a new listener there, so Tune in. And we've got Shannon coming in from Prince George, BC. Great to see you this morning as well, Shannon. So, friends, guests, a question I've been starting out with recently is, if 1 is burnout and 5 is on fire, how are you feeling today? Nick, let's start with you.
I'm feeling on fire now. I feel like this year, the last couple of years here, it's been definitely ups and downs as we have all experienced a variety of learning settings, teaching settings, at home, at school. It's been a mix. I'm going to say 3 because there are days where it is a grind. It is tough right now, especially as we get close to winter break. But then, I connect with amazing educators like you, and I'm a 5. So I'm ebbing and flowing, and so I'm gonna say a safe answer, and I'm gonna say 3.
Okay, I was hoping for the mean of 4 there, but I'll take 3. Alice, how about you?
I have to go with a 3 also. If you had asked me earlier in the week, maybe it would have been a little lower, but now we're at the weekend, so I'm feeling a little better. I don't know what your schedules look like in school right now, but here we are doing this every other week thing where we switch. We have 2 classes for 1 week and then 2 classes the next week, and we switch. Ooh. And so every other week I have a week with no prep time, no prep period. So I'm like literally teaching all day, and I have some heavy classes right now, some senior math classes. And so it is like go for this week. And so I'm heading into a prep week with my prep, and that feels good. So I'm on the way up now, starting to get a little more energy than what I had earlier this week.
All right, sounds good, Alice. Well, thank you for joining us even at a 3 for both of you, and hopefully we'll be a little bit higher than that by the end of this conversation. But I'm so glad you were able to share some of your time with us this morning. Let's check in with the audience, see how they are feeling. Shannon is a 2. She, let's see here. She is saying yes. Shannon Schinkel, okay. And Mel is saying, nice to meet you, Shannon. All right. And Mel Piano.
I think she's talking about my piano in the background.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Yes, we play the piano.
All right, good to see. And I'm sure some math connections that we could get into as well. Well, Nick, I want to jump in with you first. You and I were messaging a little bit. You were talking about some really cool ways that you are bringing math to life with your 8th graders. So could you share maybe 1 or 2 ways that you've been doing that lately?
Yeah, I really love grade 8. I find people are mixed. As an 8th grade person yourself, I'm sure there's people on both sides of grade 8, but I love grade 8. It's I feel like one of the most creative curriculums, particularly in Alberta. I really find grade 8 just has such crosses between the science and the math and the humanities with the Renaissance and simple machines and mechanical systems. And one of the things that we do is we set up a kind of a theme throughout the year of incorporating Barbie into the math. And it's actually really amazing. We use it in proportions. We start out with proportions, Barbie's proportions and how they're related to our proportions. And then we get into Barbie wants to set up a business, which we tie in money. She wants to start an outdoor adventure business. So one of the first things that Barbie's going to do at this outdoor adventure business is she's going to start bungee jumping. And, we weave that into linear equations and exponential understanding. And
wow.
I literally say to them, Barbie wants to set up a bungee jumping part of her adventure camp, but we got to make sure it's safe. We can't be doing this stuff if it's not safe. And we set up, little mini experiments about how, in 12, with 12 elastics, with 1, how far does she fall? With 2, how far does she fall? To create that linear, it's not perfectly linear. It's a little more exponential, but you kind of get where we're going with that. And so by the end of 12, you only have 12 elastics. But guess what? Barbie's going to need way more. So when you go to set up for jumping off the stairs or jumping off the swing outside or whatever the door frame, can you use the information from those elastics to find out if Barbie's going to be jumping 300 centimeters, how many elastics does she need to do that safely while having the most thrilling ride she can? And the kids love it. It's a problem that they can get their hands on. It then leads to more adventure outdoor camp stuff like zip lining with Pythagorean theorem and looking at hypotenuse. And then again, we bring in the money side, you only have so much money for materials, your string, your harnesses, your elastics, whatever it may be. And then what kind of zip line can you create? You want it to be thrilling, but you want it to be safe. How do you do that? And then incorporating, almost without saying it too, incorporating all this amazing math without saying you need to find the hypotenuse. It's just,
right.
It's in the problem without even explicitly saying it, which is really cool.
That sounds very PBL-ish, and it sounds like a lot of fun. There's, I'm sure I don't have to tell you, there's a Barbie movie coming out, isn't there? So your kids are they're going to want to wrap up the unit with that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, everyone does. And you know what? I always get the question of what about the boys? What about this group? What about this group? It's so not a thing at all. And the beautiful part about it is that literally everyone in the class knows Barbie. And so it's just another thing that we use, and it's really, really cool. We even bring it into Shapes in Space, where I bring in a Barbie tent that I found at a garage sale that was handmade by someone. It's really cool. And I say, this tent's really not cutting it anymore. Barbie wants Barbie wants a new tent. So we're going to make a tent from nets, and we bring the nets and the shapes and space into it. And it's a lot of fun putting creative spins on, stuff that we've seen for a really long time.
So cool. So much fun. Well, I look forward to digging deeper into that when we after we finish the broadcast. Alice, I want to move to you and talk about this series of books that you published last year. They go by the series name Look for the Math Around You. And as soon as I saw that, I thought of another friend we have on Twitter that I'm sure you've crossed paths with, Chris Woods at Daily STEM, and that's part of his philosophy as well.
I love Chris Woods.
Yeah. So talk about the philosophy behind this really cool series, Look for the Math Around You. What's that all about?
Yeah, so a little over a year ago, we published this 6-book series through Codebreaker. And it's really like I call it a photo book series. Each book has 22 photos that I took just like in our everyday lives. And each photo is accompanied with photo like question prompts or conversation prompts to get you and your kids talking about math based on everything that you see around you. And so that's sort of my side passion project, I guess, where I think that our young kids should be brought up constantly seeing the math around them, talking about it explicitly, and really recognizing that math really is everywhere and not just a single lone subject that we learn once we get to school.
So good. Well, I want to dig even deeper into that because both of you bring some exciting insights and perspectives to the whole business around mindset. And that's really how I titled this conversation. We've all heard a phrase that I'm sure makes the two of you cringe, which is, I'm not a math person. And you've probably heard it from teachers, I have to say. And to anyone out there listening or watching, if you've heard that or if you've said that, I think of researchers like Carol Dweck and Joe Bowler, who just knocks that flat. But to both of you, can you speak to the power of mindset when it comes to learning in math? Maybe both from a learning and a teaching perspective. Alice?
Yeah, that's it. We hear this all the time in math. I'm not a math person. Almost like it's kind of like a cool thing to say. Like, I don't do math. I don't know how to do math. Which is really kind of ridiculous. So there's a whole lot of research now. Carol Dweck started with mindsets, and then Joe Bowler kind of took that research and narrowed it in on math in her first book, Mathematical Mindsets. And there's lots of proof now that there is no such thing as a math person. So we can't just do math or not do math. There's a whole in between there, and it's a spectrum, right? And we can get better at doing math. Or sorry, I'm laughing at the students. You caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that. Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Nick Jonas, thanks so much. Okay. So we really need to start viewing math as that spectrum where we can improve at it with some practice and purposeful practice, and not just like you get one question wrong and you suddenly can't ever do math for the rest of your life, and that's your label. So it's something we love to do it with math, but something that we really should not do, and is really detrimental to our kids. And they grow up thinking that they can't do math, and what a shame.
I have to ask a quick follow-up before I go to Nick. Have you ever called out a colleague for saying something like that, or have you ever done the gentle follow-up?
So listen, I try not to be too confrontational in that regard, but we definitely have seen educators that have said that sort of thing. But at our school, our department has worked really hard on this math mindsets thing. And we've done some presentations with our staff. And so they kind of know now. Now they're like, yeah, I'm not going to say that, especially not in front of Alice. They know, and they're working on it. Because every, once in a while, a colleague will come to me and say, I referenced math in my English class or in my art class or in my geography class. They are telling me, guess what? We used it, and I didn't say I hated it. So
And I didn't say I hated it. Well, hooray for integration. I want to get to a few audience comments here. Shannon says, going back to the themes and what Nick was talking about in the PBL area, ours this year in English 8 is connecting to the land, writing, reading, and now 20% time. Love that, Shannon. That genius hour and 20% time is fantastic. I think this is Nora on YouTube is saying pre-algebra to algebra 2, mostly students with specific... Oh, she's talking about what she is teaching. Great to have you here this morning. Another comment from Shannon says, this reminds me of a great TED Talk by April McKnight. Yes, passion projects that embed the curriculum. And, oh yeah, Shannon, this book here, Joe Bowler's Limitless Mind, absolutely fantastic, very powerful. If you need convincing, pick that one up. So, Nick, you've got the podcast. That's why I wanted you here this morning, the Ready, Set, Growth. I knew this is an educator I can definitely connect with around mindset. So, how does this hit you when you hear that comment about I'm not a math person? Talk about mindset and the importance of mindset in math.
I think a lot of it is we need to think about relationships that we forge with our students, showing vulnerability. I think making mistakes is really key as professionals to show our children, like, I don't know everything either. Like, I'm still learning, and that's okay. Right. I think it's also really critical that we tell kids, like, okay, your growth might be different than someone else's. Like, your 1% every day is huge over the year. I think kids get really hung up. I think particularly I see this with my grade 9s where they really start comparing themselves to other kids in the room and like, oh, I can't do this. Oh, this comes so easily to this person. And, we just had that conversation. Actually, it was more in the science the other day, but I think there's this misconception that things just come easy to some people and that there might be some truth to that. But the kids that I see doing really well also work insanely hard without even sometimes showing that to their friends, because like that may not seem always super cool. And I think that needs to be talked about more than anything is like, we're all growing at different rates. Like, I'm still learning things as 12, 13 years in. I'm still learning how to be a better teacher. This isn't my first time I've seen grade 9, and I'm still figuring out how do I teach this in a better way. And I think forging relationships and showing vulnerability with your students is a really, really key part. The other thing that I think is very important with the actual teaching of the math and the mindset is showing kids that, like Alice said, math shows up all around us and it looks different. And for instance, I just started looking at, 1 and 2 step equations with my grade 8s. And, it's funny, as soon as I write it on the board, like, 2x plus 5 equals 10, they're like, oh my gosh, like, what is this? But if I put one of those, like, I'm sure everyone's seen them on Facebook, those algebra problems with like 3 stars equal 30. Well, guess what? That's algebra. And if I put that beside the work that I'm showing them, now we're making a connection that is they may have seen in real life. Their parents have maybe talked about it. And I've shown examples of like when these pop up on Facebook, they get thousands of likes, hundreds of comments, but no one's saying like, oh, you're doing algebra. Just a heads up, you're doing algebra. Right. They just see a puzzle. Like most people just see like, okay, what is the hamburger and what's the fries? And like the 13, 14-year-olds are no different. So I think when it comes to mindset, it's really important to put things in different settings so that it feels safe and that you can ask questions, because many of them will start solving stuff without using algebraic language. But guess what? They're solving it in a way that makes sense to them and allows for them to enter in a safe place. When I talk about the algebra problem, one of them is the first one always seems to be 3 plus like 3 of something equals, let's say 30. So the kids know that 30 needs to be distributed into each one and you get 10. Well, 3x equals 30. It's no different. And I think once we start showing math in different settings and allowing for just safe questions to be asked in class, I think that is massive with mindset in math. Those low floor, high ceiling questions that literally anyone in the room can enter at and ask a question that doesn't have to be like mathy. They can just ask a question and be part of the conversation.
Well, that's where actually I want to go next. And you said so many great things there, Nick, that I would love to take off on. But I want to talk about building thinking classrooms. I'm sure you've come across this book, and Peter Liljedahl develops this idea of the value of rich, non-curricular thinking tasks, which is kind of new to me. So I'm going through this book study with my colleagues, really enjoying the challenges he's throwing my way, and starting to open my math classes with some of these questions that, as you just said in your last point there, may not make a direct connection with curriculum. So I'm curious, in your math classroom, how do you try to integrate this? Or I mean, I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but do you have times where you simply engage with thinking problems that may not have a direct connection with the unit that you're in? Alice?
Yes, definitely. I'm so glad you brought up Peter's work, because we've been using Peter's research for years at our school. And I've really been working hard at turning my classes into a thinking classroom through the research that Peter has done. And his book is excellent. If you haven't read it yet, you need to read it for sure. So, you know, pre-pandemic, if we can, because we still have a lot of restrictions where we are in our classrooms based on COVID protocols and stuff. But pre-pandemic, we were using a lot of the thinking classroom framework in starting with random groups, with having our students in random groups every day, and working up at the boards so that all of our work is visible and we can all look at each other's solutions. And specifically to what you asked, Tim, the non-curricular tasks, we would start the first day of our semester always with a very low floor, like what Nick was saying, a easy entry point problem. Still math, but nothing like related to the curriculum in particular. Like I'm thinking if anyone's familiar with the ucubed.org problems, we would use like 4 4s, or the other one we like a lot for first time is Leo the Rabbit. I don't know if you know that one with the staircase. So those are two really easy entry point kind of problems. And so this allows students to, one, practice collaboration. Like, what does good group work look like? What does it look like when we're working with people that we don't necessarily want to work with? And how do we distribute the work in our group? Like, I would prefer groups of 3, and I think Peter says groups of 3 are the best too. But that doesn't mean like split up the work among 3 people, but rather how do you work collaboratively with those 3 people at one time? Like, who's doing what? Someone's holding the pencil or the pen, and someone's contributing, and someone's asking questions, for example. So those non-curricular tasks are doing a lot of things, but mainly for me at the beginning of the semester, first day, second day, even in the first week, that's setting the tone for the classroom atmosphere for the entire semester. So we do it right off the bat, and students know, like, this is what our classroom is going to look like for the rest of the semester. We're not doing it like randomly in the middle of a semester trying to do this group work thing. Like, we're starting it right away. And that for me is like the most powerful thing that we can do to get our class started on the right foot, and to also avoid like that pushback that you get from students sometimes, to not have the, when you start to go away from the traditional math classroom, which is like traditionally like independent, like very independent style and quiet. And when we move away from that, sometimes we have a little bit of pushback. But if you start it right away with these fun tasks where every kid feels like they can contribute, like, you're off to a good start, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's so much about culture and building that thinking culture in your room. Nick, do you have a great resource of these kinds of tasks that you can share with us?
Yeah, can I just piggyback onto what Alice was saying? Because I think one thing that I think is really key that she's talked about that I think I would like to see more in more math classes is that getting away from this idea that we do math in silos. And I talk about this with my grade 9s all the time, where we learn from watching other people. Like, that is a legitimate learning experience when you're in groups. Even if you feel like, oh, I'm not as strong, watching and hearing other people work through and write things out and draw things out and talk things out in a group, I find, that peer-to-peer relationship in collaborative learning is so critical. I really believe that, whoever's doing the talking is doing the learning. And when kids are talking with each other in class, it is such rich learning. It can't always be coming from us. It cannot always be coming from us. I think that is so critical. As far as a great resource, I'm going to give you one that I absolutely love.
There he is again.
I absolutely love. And I want everyone to go and use this one. It is called wouldyourathemath.com. It's very similar to what Alice was talking about with her book, where there's visuals and you're comparing things, but the work isn't like super intense. Like, sometimes it's just looking at the picture and having a class discussion, and sometimes it's very like, no, we got to write this out. Let's draw this out. This half is this side, this half of the room is this side. Debate which one would you do, and it is fantastic. You have to check out Would You Rather Math. I use it all the time. Just like bringing in visuals. I love the stuff that Alice posts where it's just like a picture of like a carton of eggs and there's like 7 missing or something like that. And just those visuals. I also do a problem at the beginning of the year. It's called Crack the Code, and it's a 3-digit code. And then there's other locks. There's like 6 of them with numbers and then word cues, and really talking about, what's the word actually telling us to do? How do we put this here? And just like working in groups. So Would You Rather Math and that Crack the Code. If you literally just type in Crack the Code, you'll see a picture of a lock and then locks around it. There's tons different examples of them.
That sounds a lot like Breakout EDU as well. That's another sort of similar, not specifically math related, but we're talking about rich non-curricular thinking tasks that engage all students. Alice mentioned I think you both mentioned the randomizing groups. That's so important. And that's something that I hadn't really thought about on the level that Peter gets into in his book. That's Peter Liljedahl, Building Thinking Classrooms. Nora is saying, I like to have students explain how they got their answers and why they thought to take that approach. And that's one really fun thing. I don't have enough whiteboard space in my room. I would like more whiteboard space, but to be able to watch students sort of wrestle with these problems and talk about their solutions is really, really valuable. Thank you for joining us. Once again, if you are here live or on the replay, the single best way to support the channel is to subscribe. So please do that. Jump on board and join me for these inspiring and informative conversations. Well, very quickly, Alice and Nick, when you think about the ingredients of an effective math lesson, I know we could go for quite some time here, but what do you think are maybe the 1 or 2 real fundamentals that make a math lesson successful? Nick?
I would say, it's really important that the kids know like why you're about to do something, even if you don't tell them right at the beginning. At some point when they kind of have that flashpoint to be like, all right, this is why we're doing this. Right. I think that's really key. I really equate my lessons to how I would run like a soccer practice. I would have I really cut it up into 3 parts where I have that kind of warm-up activity, that key game, and then the activity that kind of ties those things together. I try to do my best doing that. Sometimes, you get into a task and they get away from you. But for me, a really good math lesson is if you can ask like 1 to 4 questions and it lasts the whole period, then I think you've asked some really good deep questions for the kids to sink their teeth into. I really like a question where if I look at something, I hear something, and I have more questions about it, then I think we have a good math lesson. Stuff that sparks curiosity, that kids are like, I want to solve that. I need to know that.
Right.
It's not even like I need the answer. No, like I need to work through that. I need to get
Right.
to that. So I did something recently with introducing linear relations and my addiction to buying Tim Hortons coffee every day. And we went through what's that really costing me? And if you could make a change that saves me money, but I still get to have my coffee, what does that look like? And boom, they were gone.
Nice.
They just went and did their thing. It was amazing.
Alice, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I agree with Nick. I'm a big fan of the 3-part lesson for math, for sure. And for me, it's all about student engagement. So we always have to think about student engagement and what is going to get the most students on task and engaging with whatever is happening in our lesson at any given point in time. So I am always asking myself, how can I get students to be involved and participate as much as possible? And that, a lecture style lesson is usually not the answer to that. And that's what I like so much about the thinking classroom. It really doesn't give anyone a chance to escape,
Right.
or sort of hide in the background, right? And that's uncomfortable for a lot of students, and I think it's uncomfortable for us too sometimes. But I think that's mainly what I'm always thinking about: student engagement, and how can we get the most amount of students doing stuff in your lesson for the most amount of time.
Yeah. Peter, again, referencing that book, and it's just on my mind a lot because, as I said, I'm in this book study with some colleagues at my school. He gets into the research of, how much faking and tuning out goes on in a typical math classroom, and it's a little frightening. So definitely recommend taking a look at that. Well, as we start to wind down here, Nick, the way, again, that I came across you is through the Ready, Set, Growth podcast. Love the title. Tell us a little bit about your mission there and what's been one highlight, if you can think of one highlight or one thing that really got you thinking from a recent conversation there.
A recent highlight, I would say, I've talked to some really incredible people. I think a highlight for me is talking to people like you guys and meeting and getting to actually know people like Alice, reaching out to really awesome in-class math teachers that are just doing creative things. But then, I reach out to people like, Dan Finkel, and he's like, yeah, let's talk. And to me, I'm like, that's amazing. People that I've been following for so long want to talk to me. And I think that's really, I hope that I can help, even one teacher improve or do something different or feel confident to try something they've never tried. I reach out to, I would say, like, probably the highlight is, talking to someone like Robert Kaplinski. I reach out to him and he's like, hey, I'm busy. Can you reach out, 5-6 months from now? And he makes time for me. And just having great conversations with people that I admire and, people that I may not have known before and I know now. And, we have these really great connections and share things, and just building something that I'm passionate about and talking with other teachers that are just, they're doing such awesome things. There are so many great teachers out there doing such great things. And sometimes I don't think our profession gives ourselves enough credit and of the daily greatness that we do all the time, even though there's hard days and hard weeks and hard months. Man, there's just so many people out there doing such great work, and it's cool to talk to them.
Yeah, awesome stuff. I can echo a lot of that. Alice, you were recently a winner or a recipient of the, as we said at the top, the Prime Minister's Award for Teaching Excellence in STEM. Yeah, that's amazing. So tell us a little bit more about the backstory here. Tell us about the work that brought this recognition your way.
Yes, thank you. I was nominated by some colleagues, and I think the main reason that I received the award was for my work in the last 5 or 6 years, shifting my classrooms into a thinking classroom. And also my dedication, I guess, to math mindsets for our students, and really bringing that idea that we can all do math, we can all improve in math, And so like a lot of our students, I teach high school, and for us, high school starts at grade 9. And a lot of our students come to us and they are just adamant that they cannot do math. They've convinced themselves that they cannot do math under any circumstances, which is so wrong. And so it takes a lot of work to undo those feelings and to really dive into that math anxiety and where it's coming from and why it exists and how to put it off to the side, right? So we need to acknowledge the math anxiety. We need to sort of get past it to make space in our minds for math learning, because if we can't do that, that math anxiety is taking up so much space in our brains that we can't possibly do any learning when we're so worried about how math makes us feel, which is often really negative. So we're doing a lot of work with that in my classes, and then the collaborative atmosphere. People walk into my class, and like I said, right now is kind of different because we have a lot of COVID protocols that, my classroom doesn't look like I would like it to look, or how it would normally look. And I hope that changes really soon back to the way it was. But people would walk into my room and say, like, this is a math classroom? Why aren't people having fun? Why is it loud? Why are people smiling? And how sad is that that's like what people think math is, right? And so I feel I've worked really hard in the last 5 or so years, and it feels really nice, like it's validating to see that people notice and appreciate what we're trying to do in math for our students.
So good. Well, I would love to hear more about what that ideal classroom looks like. Alice, I know Peter, to go back to him again, talks about defronting the classroom. And I'm like, what? I can't get rid of the front of my room. I don't want to do that. So, I'd love to hear more if we have time here. A couple more questions, though. Here's a quick one. Whose voice is inspiring you right now? Who is lighting your fire for learning? Alice, is there one educator out there in the PLN that is really inspiring you right now?
This is a tough question for me right now, because I think everyone is feeling overwhelmed, and maybe we don't have as much time for reading and PD that we would normally like to have. I think all teachers are kind of tired. So normally, I'm reading a lot of books and I'm attending a lot of PD on my own time. But right now, can I honestly say those inspiring me are my colleagues in Ontario.
Yes.
We have a new grade 9 math curriculum, a de-streamed math curriculum in grade 9 that we just launched in September. And this course is very different. And I did not get a chance to teach it this semester. I have it next semester, so I will be teaching it, but I didn't get an opportunity to do it this semester because of scheduling. And watching my colleagues going through this new course and figuring this out and telling me all of their ideas and what they've collected for resources so far, that really right now is inspiring me. And I'm feeling like they're doing such a great job. So I'm going to give that one to them this time. And I'm not even talking about somebody in the big math Twitter sphere. I'm just talking about our everyday teachers.
Yeah, fair enough. Nick, what about you? Who is one person who is lighting your fire these days?
You know what? Similar to Alice, those people that we see every day. I'm at a new school this year, and I have 2 amazing administrators, just 2 of the greatest people. I'm so glad to have them, as leaders, and the team that I am the lead of as the learning leader. They light my fire every day. Having amazing grade 8 partner and grade 9 team partner, because I teach both 8 and 9. Brinsley and Ian, they're amazing. I love them. In the Twitterverse and in the Instagram world, I try and connect with as many people as I can. Someone like Taylor at Conceptual Mathematics is doing such awesome stuff with her kids in elementary. And, anyone that reaches out and, sends me a nice message about, hey, that thing you posted really helped me today, or, hey, I listened to this episode and I'm ready to take this on. It's like I get those messages, and that really lights my fire. Honestly, when I get a message from someone saying like, hey, I love that Titanic data thing that you did, I'm just like, oh, okay, it's like, it's working. Like I'm doing what I'm supposed to. When I see
Right.
kids engaged, that lights my fire. But, the people that I think we are on the ground with right now in the classroom, it has been a very, very long couple school years. I mean, we've been affected by 3 school years of COVID, and it looks different every year. And it's been tough. I think the people that are around us, supporting us, being there for us, those are the people that really light my fire.
Great stuff. Well, I won't depart from that. We all know some great names in the space. There's another big Alice out there who also loves math, and I know there are many we could mention. But shout out to our colleagues, as you both said, it's a tough time, and we're winding down 2021, trying to finish strong. So as you both set that context, maybe this is a tough question. Maybe you're not feeling that fired up right now, but is there one thing that you are focusing on, or maybe as you look ahead to 2022, is there another book in the works? Is there some new project that you're thinking about? What is there on the horizon that is firing you up? Alice?
I don't have a big project or writing on the go
Okay.
right now. People ask me this a lot, but honestly, I'm taking a break because I'm tired.
Yes.
My latest book released in April, this past April, and it was a lot of work, that one. And I am now like not working on any writing, which hasn't been the case for a few years. So that is okay with me. And I am, like I said before, I'm kind of looking ahead to next semester because I'm going to be teaching that new grade 9 de-streamed math course. And so that's sort of where my head is at right now, brainstorming some ideas for that. And working with a colleague and department head on our next presentation for OAME. OAME is our Ontario Math Association,
Okay.
which is virtual in May, if anybody wants to join. And we're working on our next session there. So yeah, those are 2 things on my mind. And hopefully something more exciting soon.
No worries. Right now, it's all about the work. And Nick, is there something firing you up, or something sort of on the horizon, as I said, that you're looking forward to in 2022?
Continuing to try and get really great guests onto the podcast. I'd love to have, someone like Dan Myers or Joe Bowler and reach really big and have some really awesome, amazing, again, people I've looked up to. You have to have goals with a passion project. I am going to be taking one graduate level course in the new year to start the ball rolling with getting my master's, doing that through the University of Alberta. Really excited about that. I know that's a road I need to go down to, challenge myself professionally and, move on to roles of administration. And I'd really like to be a specialist with the board that I work in. So that's step one. And just, having a break. I really think I don't know about you guys, but I really do want to get to winter break and have some decompression time and have some time to go over what I've done, kind of reflect on the first half of the year and look forward to like kind of what are those big projects and start kind of plotting a little bit, not heavy planning. I think breaks are good to just kind of clear your mind. And so, those are a few things that I'm looking forward to, and just, spending time with my own kids and yeah.
So good. Mel says, I am good with not doing any further study. So she is not apologizing for that. And I think maybe that's where a lot of educators are right now. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. As we close, let us know, how can we join your learning journey? What are the best places to connect? Nick, I'll start with you.
Really the best place for me where I'm most active is on Instagram. At Ready, Set, Growth podcast. And, follow. I always, I have 4 or 5 different classes So I'm not as active as I'd like to be when I was an intervention specialist the last few years, but please go and check out the podcast. I'm always trying to post creative and share creative things on Instagram. That's probably the best place to find me. I am on Twitter as well, but Instagram's probably the place to come and find me. Lots of great episodes. We just did an episode with Joe and Kristen Merrill on the different types of technology that you can use in the classroom. It was a really good episode. It was an episode that I think over a winter break would be good to listen to because it's not super academic. It's like, what are some things we could bring into the room and make learning engaging and fun, which I want people to have. Alice said this, and I'm gonna say it. I'm giving you permission to have fun. Your rooms need to be fun. Have fun. Have fun.
And it is fun. It is fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt. Nick has the best Instagram posting ideas for middle school math. Like I get ideas from Nick. Nick, I feel like years ago I did one of your ideas and I didn't even know like who you were and we didn't know each other. But did you do the donut? Were you the one that did the donut versus Timbits thing?
Yeah.
I did that years ago because I saw it on your Instagram.
And
So
and that's
good.
it. That's the stuff I love to hear. I love that. That makes me so happy.
I thought that was you. I kept meaning to message you and ask you if that was you because I kept thinking like I think I got that from Nick.
Yeah. And Alice, how can we connect with you?
So if you want to find out more about my teaching in high school math, then you can find me on Twitter at Alice Aspinall. And then if you want to follow along on my endeavors with my children and their math learning, so if you have young kids, follow me at Everyone Can Learn Math. I'm pretty active on Instagram. I have a Facebook page too. And that's my website, everyonecanlearnmath.com. You can also find out more about my books there. So my 6-book series and then my 2 fiction books on math mindsets. You can link to those there as well. But follow along on our Instagram fun and you can see our posts about where we find math and how we talk about it. I won't say daily, not daily, especially not now, but frequently. And you find some good free ideas to get your math conversations started.
So good. Well, I consider myself, I'm very careful not to say I'm not a math person, but I am teaching a little bit of math and feeling like, wow, I still have so much learning to do. And like both of you, I'm thankful to be surrounded by great colleagues who have more expertise than I do. So I'm learning a lot from them, but I'm also learning from people like you. And next week on the show, we'll have John Carippo with his Math Edu Protocol. So look forward to digging into that as well. Nick and Alice, thank you again so much for your time today. I hope people will reach out and subscribe, connect, purchase some of Alice's books, check out her YouTube channel as well. And let's keep learning. Let's keep pushing forward and inspiring students and bringing our math classrooms to life. I like that theme. That's a good note to end on. So if you joined us live, thank you so much for joining us and enjoy the rest of the weekend, everyone. Take care and goodbye.
Thank you.
Well, didn't